Nebraska makes their hire. They hire Matt Rhule. Matt Rhule is responsible for building Temple up into a team that was nationally ranked and very respectable. Also brought Baylor back from 1-11 to 11-1. I don't know Matt Rhule personally. I'm familiar with his work, obviously, as a coach. I respect the hell out of him. I think he's a very good ball coach. I think he's the right guy for the situation because of the rebuilding process. And this is a school that has made a financial commitment to him. They're going to try to be impactful in NIL. And he has some of the natural recruiting ties that has really historically benefited this team down there in Texas specifically, having coached in that state. I do not think that they could have had a better hire than Matt Rhule, if I'm being completely honest.
I said it. I know Rhule a little bit, but obviously him being a Penn Stater, know a lot of people who do know him swim in some of the same pools that he swims in. Respect the hell out of him. That Temple year, he did beat us opening the year up. So still a little bitter about that, but hell of a ball coach. And I said the same thing whenever it was when the news broke, I guess Saturday night or maybe yesterday when I was on. Like, I did not see Nebraska getting a hire like Matt Rhule. Just to where the state of the program was, I thought they were going to have to go somebody who was like out of the game for a while, super desperate, like we've talked about, or someone who's young, no one knows anything, but they would have had to have done a ton of research on them and been really confident in it. And to get a guy like that, to your point, he's been there, done that in about any situation possible. He's got ties recruiting. His name's recognizable. He just came off the NFL circuit. So, whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, any press is good press at that point in time. Kids are going to be able to recognize the name. Kids are going to be excited about it. Yeah. And to your point, if he can get that entire fan base to modernize some things, modernize their thought processes, the alumni, the money, the funding, that gap of like trying to convince people that Lincoln, Nebraska is like a hot spot, which it will never be convinced of like, you think, yeah, I can't wait to get to Lincoln, Nebraska, but you can get all those other variables in there and start winning some football games. That changes that whole perspective and that whole narrative. That issue starts sliding down on the scale of kids' lists when they're looking at schools, right? So you need to get the buy-in. He's the right guy for it. And I think I'm really excited to see how he does.
Yeah. And like, to me, I don't think like getting kids to Lincoln, Nebraska is as big of a deal. I think their proximity to talent is probably the harder sell there, because they got to go further to get kids. But this is not a knock on State College, but like, I mean, State College, yeah, maybe you're around some big metros that aren't too far, but it's State College. Like Tuscaloosa's Tuscaloosa. Yeah. Have you ever been to Clemson?
Yeah, my little brother went there.
I mean,
Clemson's fucking sick though, bro.
I know, but what I'm saying is it's not like Clemson is New York City or LA or Chicago. Yeah. And that's what most of these college towns are. Yeah. I mean, there's only a handful, like Austin, Texas, Columbus, Ohio are like legit big cities that are college towns, but they don't exist. So I think he can get kids there. And I think what Nebraska fans need to do now, to me, is they need to reshape their expectations, because it's not 1994. So I don't think this is a national title contending program year in and year out. But what I do believe that this team can and should be is in the 8 to 10 win range on a yearly basis, with a couple of special years where they might win 11 or 12 and get you into that college football playoff. That's where I think Matt Rhule can elevate this program to. But that's going to be a process that takes a little time and patience.
Yeah, well, I think the history, they're a cyclical program that has more history than a Nebraska, a Northwestern, or an Iowa. They're a cyclical program where their floor is much higher than what those programs' floors are on a yearly, on a cycle basis. But then their ceiling is also much higher as well. I think that and the consistency and the pace at which they can do it, I think, is a little bit different. Just for I think there's obvious reasons that I don't want to dive into, and it's not a knock on any of those programs, because I love fans. No doubt. I love Ferentz. I love what they've done. But I think I completely agree with you. I think it could be one of those things where you get a group of guys, a core group of guys for 2 years to play together, 3 years. You can make some noise and kind of vet, like out vet some younger, sexier, faster turnover type programs in the Big Ten for sure.